Hello, and welcome to the show Goldsquadrongays. It's the podcast where two Star Wars loving gays break down each episode of their favorite Star Wars TV shows while also being gay as hell. I'm your host, Bradley Brower.
And I'm Charles Rogers, and I have water for circumstantial reasons, but Bradley just informed me before we started recording that he does not. He has the gay drink this time.
I do. So I'm trying the new Truly flavors. They are punch flavors. Right now I'm drinking the Truly Tropical Punch. Pretty good.
This is finally going to be the drunk episode.
I know, right?
We get Bradley to spill all of his secret, terrible Star Wars opinions.
I was gonna say, if we ever
get him drunk for that, he just does it for free.
If we ever did that, we need to get we need to buy the Truly extra hards, and then that way we'd have to drink a full one before we start, because it's 18 fluid ounces, and then it's a good just chugging this alcohol.
I feel like Truly's, they keep making them harder and harder as time goes on.
And they're still 100 calories. So I don't know how they do it.
They're still 100 calories.
I don't know how they do it.
My experience, I have limited experience with White Claw. And my experience was this tastes very good, but I don't really see what the appeal is in it.
The way I look at White Claw is, so the bar that I go to in Atlanta is whenever I'm done drinking, right? For the night, I'm like, okay, I've already had 5 or 6 drinks. I'm like, okay, I'm getting a little too there, right? What I do is I will go to the bartender and I will get a White Claw, because they don't carry Truly usually at the bar. But they're basically, the same thing. But what I like about getting a seltzer when you feel too drunk or whatever is it kind of brings you down a little bit, because it's essentially beer, but it's not disgusting soggy bread water, it's but it's a seltzer. It really does. Okay. It does level you out. It's kind of like me,
Okay, no, we are not even going to jump on this discourse. We will fill up the entire runtime of the episode of me addressing how wrong that statement you just said was. Instead, speaking of beer and crops and farming, that
was a little bit of a stretch.
There's a stretch.
There's
a stretch.
But yes, let's get into cropping.
We have nothing really that's been announced in the 3 days or so since we recorded. Oh God, it actually has been 3 days since we recorded.
Has it been 3 days? Oh my God, it has been
3 days. We recorded. The only major announcement was that there's Bad Batch Legos, which I feel like I might have been a little hasty in leaving my job. Because as we mentioned on the last episode, I am currently unemployed. And then they come up with the Bad Batch Legos, and I'm like, maybe I could have stayed an extra week or two.
Yeah, just get a little bit more money, Yeah, I saw that on.
The first thing I get when I'm employed again.
I saw that on Instagram, because it's funny because this episode opens up with this Lego set. Basically, it's them on the ship.
Yep.
And it's all of them, and it was really cool. The only one that doesn't have, I guess, is Omega, but it has the rest of the Bad Batch, which is interesting. So,
incidentally, as far as the pronunciation goes, everyone says it Omega except for her. She says Omega. I think it's just the accent. So I guess Omega, either Omega or Omega is the correct, either or is the correct pronunciation of it.
So yes, my friend actually brought this up because he listened to the episode yesterday, and he told me, he was like, she's saying Omega because she has the New Zealand accent, because Tamora Morrison is New Zealand. So it's it's that New Zealander accent. So it's Omega. You're not saying Omega. She's saying Omega, but she's saying it like Omega, Omega. I don't know. It's hard to do it, but yeah.
And I'm like, I tend to default to the character's pronunciation, but with Omega, it's like,
right.
Oh no, she is actually pronouncing it different. I think in the first episode of the show, she's basically the only one who says her name.
Right. And in this episode, I actually clocked it. I didn't write down at what point it happened, but one of the Twilight kids says Omega. He says Omega's out by the fence or something. So he doesn't say Omega. So it is just her who says Omega, or at least the clones probably say Omega. I don't know if they've said it yet, but
I think
They
it's
probably
like a weird cross between the American accent of Omega and the way that the voice actress says it, which is Omega. Like it's gonna
Right.
run a spectrum.
I mean,
It's
it doesn't
do
matter.
whatever you want.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's like Apple, or no, it's like Han.
Han and Han, but like they did go back and like explain that in Solo.
Right.
Like they retroactively made that work, although clearly it's just Billy D. Williams just pronouncing it however he wants.
Right, exactly. So who cares? So did you
Who
clock in,
cares?
I was gonna say, did you clock in the opening this time, the new characters?
I did, but I didn't write down all of them.
Oh, I
did notice Chopper. I noticed this, not the scout trooper helmet, but the cadet helmet.
Yes, I'm gonna
I
pull
noticed
it up.
Grievous this time.
You did notice Grievous. Because I thought it was cool. I'm trying to see if I had
did
an
notice
article.
Grievous this time. While you're pulling that up, speaking of articles, because you did send me this article. Speaking of articles, I want to address the lightsaber thing from last time.
Okay.
Because I did more research and I had people reach out to me after the last episode aired.
Yes.
I had people reach out to me with a few different theories of who's under the sheet.
Okay.
Nobody knows who is under the sheet.
Correct.
Nobody has been able to clock the lightsaber.
Got it.
The closest we've got is freeze framing on the hand and comparing the hand colors to known Jedi. And there's two theories. One person tried to tell me with complete seriousness that it's intended to be Depa Billaba. And I went back, and first of all, I think the hand is the wrong color. I think the hand is kind of greenish.
Oh, I don't know.
And then the lightsaber doesn't match hers at all. And I went back and looked at the scene where she actually is gunned down, and she's using the actual lightsaber that she has. So it's not like they changed her lightsaber. It's definitely not her. Best theory I have heard so far is that it's someone named Rig Nema, who is the doctor that treats Yoda in the last arc of season 6 of the Clone Wars. But we don't have any confirmation on that. It's just some random Jedi. But I just want to state for posterity on the show, while you're researching, pulling up the list of everybody who's in, that I've still been looking into this. If you have your theories, please send them to me. I am obsessed with knowing who this Jedi was.
Clearly. Okay, so the new Star Wars fanfare is just related to the cartoon side of the universe. And so we see in order, I guess, is General Grievous, and then it is Bucket from Star Wars Resistance. I'm assuming that's the droid.
That's the droid.
Okay.
Yes.
And then after him is Chopper from Rebels. And then, weirdly enough, it's Crosshair is the next one.
Okay.
And then this is where it gets weird. So then it's the head of the BX Commando droid from various Clone Wars episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And then randomly again, Wrecker helmet. And then the last two are an Imperial driver helmet. And then Bo-Katan. And then the very last one, which is random, is a Revenge of the Sith era clone trooper. Randomly is the last thing. So I don't know.
I wonder, and I speculated this during Mandalorian, I wonder if it's going to be tweaked slightly depending on what show it's in front of. So I wonder if there's multiple Bad Batch ones because it's the Bad Batch show.
Yeah. I'll have to look at it each time and make sure, like, just double check, be like, is it changing at all? You know how they do that randomly. They'll be like, oh, let's change it just because, so we'll see.
So roughly 5 minutes after I said, let's dive into the episode, we have nothing else to talk about leading up to it. Right. We could finally dive into the episode.
Yes. Let's get
Cut going. And Run is the name of this episode. Mm-hmm. We open up on the shuttle. Omega has finally tired herself out, and she and Wrecker are both asleep. And I want to talk about research here.
Okay.
Briefly. Because this is another thing that got brought up to me by other people after the last episode aired. I spent about 20 minutes Googling lightsabers and trying to figure out who the lightsaber belongs to in the Camino scene. And if I had bothered at any point, I'll actually back up. So I don't listen to any other reviews of the episodes before we record this podcast, but after I recorded the last episode, I went back and I started listening to reviews, and immediately it was pointed out that if I had just Googled Sector J19, I would have immediately discovered that we know that that's Seleucami.
Gotcha.
And everybody who did their fact checking.
Right.
But I was so obsessed with this lightsaber that in my brain I went, oh, probably there's no.
Yeah, I thought it was funny too because the second the
you may
episode,
all mock me for this.
I was gonna say
all flood my DMs to tell me how wrong I am.
I know, because you kind of tricked me too, because I thought when you were like, oh well, J19 or whatever it is, you were like, oh yeah, that's where we meet Rex and blah 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 blah. And like the second they land on this planet, I'm like, no, this is not that story. I don't know what story this is, but this is not that story. And we get a character from Clone Wars, correct? He's in Clone Wars, because I knew it looked familiar.
Correct, but we'll get to him in a minute.
Okay.
We're coming up on the planet now.
Oh, is there something?
So there's something I want to talk about first. So mea culpa, that's on me. Charles, research your podcast before you record it. 2K21 challenge. All of the nerds are now going to mock me at the annual nerd gathering.
Right.
So we come up on Seleucami, and they land. And I want to talk briefly about this scene with Omega, where she steps out and she sees the planet for the first time, and there's dirt. I had two thoughts.
Okay.
Immediately upon watching the scene. The first one is, wow, they really are going for a Rey thing here, where she sees the new planet for the first time and she's overwhelmed by it. And my second thought was, I swear to God, Omega's going to turn out to be a Palpatine clone.
Not with that New Zealand accent.
I mean, the hair is kind of back like Palpatine.
Yeah.
It's exactly like Rey, and we know how much... spoilers for The Rise of Skywalker, but Rey ends up being a Palpatine.
But to be fair, she's British, so
that is true.
They were I don't even actually, does that even make any sense? Because Palpatine's not British.
The actor is, and the Empire.
But does he have an accent? Does he have an Empire accent?
I believe so. I have to go back and check.
I need to watch the prequels because I don't really remember if he has like a British accent or not.
Had I watched Attack of the Clones like I said I was going to, and then I didn't,
right.
I ended up streaming instead after we finished recording. But had I actually done that, I probably would know the answer. That's another thing that the nerds can mock me for at the annual nerd convention, is not knowing exactly who has what accent. What did you think of this opening sequence with Omega?
I loved the part where she I like how she steps out and she goes, like, she takes a big breath of fresh air, because theoretically she has never really been outside, because on Camino it's always raining,
right?
Or at least it appears to always be raining. And so why would you ever go outside? And even if you did go outside, it's not like you can take a breath of fresh air outside when it's raining like that. So it's like, I don't know. I thought that was nice. And then she touches the dirt. She's like, wow, this is awesome. Like, because it's so sterile on Camino. So it's a different environment for her.
It's neat that it's reflective of, Anakin comes to Coruscant in The Phantom Menace. And it's very, he's blown away by the buildings. Rey goes to Takodana in The Force Awakens, and she's blown away by the trees and how green the whole thing is.
Yeah.
And then you have Omega, who's really excited by dirt.
I love it. Yeah, it's such a silly thing, but they really do capture the whole like fish out of water experience, like basically, which is what most of Star Wars is anyway. And it's that you have your character going from like a desert planet their whole entire life to being like, oh, I'm gonna go travel the galaxy now. Like, oh, I'm gonna go to this ocean planet now. Like, it's just an interesting twist.
You go to new places and explore new things, and that's kind of the point of the having this broad universe like this, is there's so much to discover. So we move on to the farm after Wrecker trips a booby trap, which Wrecker is...
He's a lot.
Not that bright. He's interesting.
Yeah.
He's clearly a top.
Yeah, right.
He definitely has those vibes. But we once again encounter, yes, Cut and Sue from the Clone Wars,
right? Which
is the clone deserter that we saw.
Yeah, I was like, I know, I mean, it's been a minute since I've seen Clone Wars, but like, what's funny is I forgot to watch it this morning. And my friend was watching it and texting me and was like, he's like, haven't we seen this farmer guy before? Like that's all he sent me. And I was like, that was all I had for the context for the episode before I even started watching it. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, isn't that from Clone Wars? And I was like, oh, you're talking about Bad Batch. I haven't even started watching it yet. So I literally was like, shit, crap, now I need to go watch it before he spoils anything for me. And so I ran to go watch it. Yeah, and I was like, so Cut is with his family, his weird family that makes no sense to me because are those kids adopted or are those his biological?
Those are adopted.
Okay,
those are adopted kids. I believe it was established in the Clone Wars. Yeah, incidentally, I happened to be awake to watch it at midnight, but that's part of why I either watch the episodes of Mandalorian or whatever when they air at midnight,
right?
Or barring that, first thing the next morning, because I will also get texts. I will wake up to like a flood of DMs, especially with the Mandalorian. I will wake up to like a flood of DMs and text messages. I can't even go on Twitter because some people like will casually post things from it. Like I got Bo-Katan spoiled for me by Twitter just because I didn't watch that episode and it was spoiled before I could watch it. So you got to be careful with Star Wars.
So yeah, they meet Cut again, but so timeline wise, this is very interesting because I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but they have this discussion about how Cut was recently talking to Captain Rex.
Yes, they go in here and they have this, and I'm looking at this like, so clearly based on this in the trailers, I was wrong about Rex being the second episode, but he's definitely going to be 3 or 4.
It's got to be 3 or 4
because they're already setting him up.
Yeah, because they say, like, I'm pretty sure they say in the episode that he visited the farm the day before.
Yep.
So that means we could go back and watch the Clone Wars episode, or I guess, is that a Clone Wars episode, or did this just happen off screen?
No, because you're thinking of the Clone Wars episode. Rex actually, that's different. That's a different visit.
Okay, so this is
so
his
Rex
second
had come
time.
back, had come through the day before this happened.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we haven't seen this interaction. We saw Rex meeting this person for the first time, but clearly Rex came through and told them about the inhibitor chips.
Gotcha. I was getting confused about that because I was like, wait a minute. Timeline wise, I was like, I don't understand what's happening. I was
Those
like,
Trulies are starting to kick in.
Clearly. Yeah.
I like how they talked about the programming last time, and then Omega brings up the inhibitor chip. And Hunter's like, Tech, you didn't say anything about an inhibitor chip. And Tech's just like, oh, I held back crucial information because I just assumed everybody could figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I like how Omega, when he mentions that, she's just like, oh, yeah, all the clones have inhibitor chips. It's so that they're more susceptible to I was like, wait, how does she know about this? She's like, she just says it so nonchalantly, too.
Her and Tech have shades of like those types of people that you talk to about Star Wars, and they're like, oh, obviously it was, X and X and X person. Is this random trivia effect? I'm like, I live, eat, and breathe this franchise, and I didn't even know that. I don't know how you expected me to know this information. So I like when Omega is going to play, is being pulled off by the kid. She actually looks to Hunter for permission.
Which is weird too, because it's like, I'm not your dad.
He's like, go ahead. Like this whole episode is about him not feeling like he's able to fulfill this paternal role to her,
Right.
and trying to get her what he sort of thinks she needs,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to what she actually wants, which is to stay with people that she can actually relate to.
Right. Let's see, they set up the whole, we have to go to the spaceport.
So they actually go to the spaceport.
Right.
They discover that in order to get on a transport now, you have to have a chain code, which we basically we established way back in The Mandalorian is basically it's a ID card.
Right.
It's a space version of an ID card.
Yeah.
You have to have an ID. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that this is basically where the chain codes are like first appeared, which is interesting. This is like the first this is where they first introduced it, I guess, timeline wise. They're like, by the way, we can now track every single one of the citizens of the Empire with this address, this Wi-Fi address on.
Yeah, they bring up the database later, and considering what we know, I know Bradley doesn't know this because he's not able to read.
Right.
But the idea of keeping things in databases and what that information could be used for is going to come up later on in the timeline during Alphabet Squadron. So it's interesting that they set up in a later scene like, oh, you could build a database with everyone in the galaxy, which is maybe a comment on modern society.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking it was also kind of like a take on the whole the whole Nazi concentration camp thing where like they would number people, and it was kind of like you also got like identifiers, like so for like gay people they would get like the pink triangle on their shirts, and so it's like an identifier, kind of like, oh, we know what you are, like, so we can go, oh, this is how we can kind of control you based on like what you are and corral you based on who you are.
Yeah, and I think it does have shades of that throughout history. We see instances where sort of these databases and knowing more about people can help you classify them, and it also helps you oppress people,
right,
by having those classifications.
Yeah,
so it's definitely like a very heavy thing to bring up, the idea, and they bring it up multiple times through the episode, that if you collect information like this, then it can be used to do some it has some unfortunate implications. And on top of that, Tech brings up, or I think it's Tech brings up the point later. No, it's Echo that brings up the point later, where he says, oh, we didn't want numbers, and now people are just willingly signing up for them.
Right. Yeah. He said the clones were asking for names, and now everybody's asking for numbers. So it was just a very weird thing. But the problem comes up that Cut would be unable to present proper identification because he is
a clone
deserter. So that's just a weird. I guess. Do they not keep track of all the clones? Like, I get, you know what I mean? Like, I would assume that
I too was curious about like how they would know that he's a clone. Like, I was curious how they would be aware of this. Like, maybe they do like a genetic thing when they do your chain code, and they would have figured it out then. Well, I'm sure there's some explanation for it.
The only explanation I can think of is that later on, when they're boarding the vessel, the clone stops them and is like, you look familiar, So I can my only theory is that the clones are the ones giving out the chain codes. So therefore, if a clone came to them and asked for a chain code, they would instantly kind of recognize them because they're not racist against their own people. So they would go, I can recognize a clone when I see one, whereas other people might not be able to.
I also want to talk real fast. So in one of our early episodes of the show, I went on a tangent about currency that ended up getting cut for the final episode. And lo and behold, it comes up in this episode that the Empire is exchanging outdated Republic currency for new Imperial currency. And that's something that made my history nerd brain go, interesting that they would address that that's how they're doing it. Because remember, we talked about too in The Mandalorian episode 1, how then 20 years later, the Empire currency is going to be worthless.
Worthless, right. Yeah, it's
absolutely
so weird.
Worthless.
It's kind of funny how full circle that is. Like, it just goes from like, oh, here's a new currency to, I think
the currency's worthless now.
Yeah, it's what I think in our little conversation we said something about how like back when the Nazis took over, like they made their own currency and then it just became
It
worthless
was
after.
completely worthless
Yeah.
afterwards.
So
This is a problem that societies have had to face throughout history. Like, we think of like Valley Forge. The reason they were in Valley Forge in the first place, or one of the many, many, many reasons, was because the local farmers didn't know whether or not the American money was actually going to be any good.
right.
So they would have preferred British pound sterling as opposed to the Americans' money, because they didn't, well, if the Americans don't win the war, then they can't really collect on this money. This money's not going to be worth anything. So that line about the empires exchanging the currency,
Yeah.
that was just interesting to me on a world building level. It's one of those things that maybe would be interesting to me and Aaron and a handful of other history people.
Right. And then everybody else is
no
like,
one else.
yeah, everybody else is like, why are they talking about money in Star
Why
Wars?
are they
Can we
talking
get back
about
to the
money?
pew pew pew?
Can we get back to the money? No, I want to talk about galactic economics. I want to talk about trade negotiations. Oh my God. I just realized why I liked Phantom Menace so much as a kid.
She goes like, he's like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll just get it later. Like, we're not allowed to leave the farm. It's fine. Like, that's just a normal thing. Like, we know, oh, we'll get it later. It's not
And
important.
then you're a normal person
Right.
who's not been sheltered on Camino all their life would think, okay, there is some reason why they can't get it.
Right.
They're
so she
probably have done this 1,000 times before. They know what they're doing. I'm just going to leave it. Omega just wants to help so much
Right.
that she runs headlong into this situation and doesn't think about it. And lo and behold, the minute she steps outside, we get a full-on beautiful view of this Nexu that comes crawling out.
I love the Nexu. So Attack of the Clones, love it or hate it, the scene where they have the three monsters, you know, attacking them in the pit is one of the best scenes ever, because I love how different the design of the three monsters are. Like, they're just so different and cool. And the Nexu is just my favorite. I actually, as a child, I had the Nexu toy, and then I also had Padme with the scratch on her back. I don't know if it came together or not, but I had them both. So I had her in her really super hot white outfit, and then I had the Nexu, and so I'd always like have them like together in the playset. So
fun deep lore fact. But I actually remember, so Bradley and I met in one class, and we didn't actually get to know each other until another class for a variety of things that were happening at it and surrounding it. And I remember that one of the things where we were first actually like talking to each other on a level beyond, hi, how are you doing, was we talked about the fact that both of us had the same Nexu toy as a kid. You mentioned that you had it, and I went, oh, is it this one that does this? And you were like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I had the exact same one as a kid.
So
I actually still have it. It's in a box in a storage unit.
You still have it now? See, now I need to go on eBay and buy one, because I was like, oh,
yeah,
I
am 99.9% sure that I still have it.
Okay.
Once
I'm going on
out
eBay.
of this current apartment and into the new apartment, I'll actually have all my boxes in the apartment with me. And if we do some video content in the future, I might pull the Nexu out.
So then we do like a little Star Wars toy reveal. Yeah, it was one of my favorite things. I mean, I don't. Oh, I guess that's what it looked like. I'm looking it up on eBay right now, and I'm like, oh, is that what it looked like? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it made like a little noise. It had its little scratch mark on the stomach where Anakin slices it up or whatever.
Yep, you can kind of move the
tail.
claws, but the tail was really bendable.
Yeah, I see that. Such a cool toy. I love it. Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones had some really solid. Like, the really only thing toys that irked me was at the time they had this thing to where the lightsabers, some of them were like metallic and or like magnetic and would stick to the hand. And then I had this one random Anakin that like the lightsaber blade would extend from his hand like Assassin's Creed. It was.
Yeah, I had that one too. I didn't like it because the the humans, or I guess Anakin's feet or whatever, were like in a pose already, so you
Right.
couldn't unpose him, which was
Right.
so.
Revenge of the Sith probably had the best ones in terms of like the hands and the lightsabers and how they were. Toy development over the years has been interesting. We'll just say that.
Well, anyway, so she gets attacked by the Nexu, and that leads, Hunter to obviously believe that he's just not a good enough dad, I guess. So he asked them to take care of his kid for her.
We have the scene where, he tries to treat her like a soldier,
right,
and then seeing Cut treat her like, a father
right
would. And that kind of makes in his brain go, I really am not qualified to be doing this. And then we get a little scene with her kind of taking the head thing off. And I'm interested because I want to know what this head thing like is. I don't know if I'd have to look it up. I don't know if it's like a Kaminoan thing.
It seems important.
I think some of them have it.
It seems important, whatever it is, because she kind of looks at it like, I almost thought about it like she looks at it kind of like as if it was a piece of jewelry that like her mom gave her. You know what I mean? I know that's not what it is, but it kind of has that same like feeling behind it. Like she kind of holds it like she's like, oh, my dead parent gave this to me.
It reminds me of the pendant from the prequels.
Yeah.
The Japor snippet that Anakin gives Padme, and then she's holding when she dies. So Hunter's giving the kid up. Very sad. But meanwhile, Echo and Tech are aboard the ship and come up with a plan to get the chain codes and proceed to execute the plan without telling Hunter first.
Which is weird.
And without realizing that Omega is 10 feet away from them on the ship.
Yeah, she's just in the front seat of the car. And they're like, they didn't even realize she was in the car. It's like, what?
I'm like, how did you miss this?
Well, I think the first problem is, why did you execute a plan without telling your leader what the plan was? Like, he's clearly like the team captain, you know what I mean? So like, why would you not tell the team captain like what you're gonna do?
Like, you want to make sure everybody is on board with the plan, but nope, they just decide to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, it was weird.
That makes sense.
But reasons. Whatever, they take the initiative.
I noted at the scene where the ship is brought to the inbound yard, and while the clone troopers are talking, I was like, D. Bradley Baker voices like over 50% of the characters in this episode again.
It is never going to it's never going to get old or shock me. Like, I'm going to be like, every time I'm going to be like, damn, this man deserves an Emmy for this. Like, I don't know.
If he does not win an Emmy for this,
I don't know what he can get for it, but he needs to get some award for this, because
all the voice acting awards.
Yeah, something, anything. I'm just like, come on, he deserves it.
So Echo jumps over and is able to break into the guard station, steal the actual physical things, and download what they need for Tech to put them on there. This is where I noted Echo's actually very useful.
Yeah.
Like, I was concerned originally they weren't going to find a lot for him to do as far as the team structure goes, but everyone on the team, and this episode once again shows everyone on the team
has value.
They are valuable to the team in some way.
So I realized something when I was watching this part, that the reason why they don't have a droid character on this show is because theoretically Echo is that droid character. He takes the place of the Deus Ex Machina, R2-D2 can unlock every door, can, shut down the codes, like everything. He has the fucking, arm thing that can do it. So it just makes sense that he would be the droid replacement for the team, essentially.
I can think of many uses for that arm thing. Not all of them appropriate for a Star Wars show.
But seriously though, he essentially is the droid of the team. Like, I thought that was weird that they didn't have one, and then now I realize why.
It's interesting because they normally like to have those mascots, but I guess as far as the storytelling goes, like, the animation prioritizes storytelling over everything else.
Right.
So I'm sure they know they're going to sell a shitload of merchandise without having a droid mascot on there.
Well, what's nice about the merchandise for this particular show, and whereas other shows it's a little different, with this one, you're selling essentially the same toy 5 different times because everybody has different armor, everybody has a different helmet, everybody,
you want to collect the whole set.
You have to collect the whole set.
You have to collect the whole set.
You can't just buy Wrecker. You have to buy Wrecker and Crosshair and Hunter and Tech. You have to get them all. And then, if you want Omega, she's like a bonus because she is essentially the mascot of the team. So she's kind of like the only different thing. I feel
really bad for those poor dumb fucks that collect Funko Pops.
I know.
I really feel for them because they're going to have to pay a lot out of pocket for all 5 of the Bad Batch.
I know.
And Omega. And the Bad Batch variations.
Well, you know what? I'm thinking too. That's just wave 1. Like I'm thinking, like, what if they start revealing characters in the show, and then they're like, oh, Bad Batch wave 2. Like, here's the Rex Funko. Here's the Asajj Ventress Funko for no fucking reason. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, keep dreaming. You're gonna keep dreaming that.
But I'm not just using her as an example, but that's what I mean. Like when there's this random ass character reveal, and then we're gonna be like, oh shit, now they're gonna make it, a bunch of toys of that character now, and who knows.
So Omega runs off again.
Yes, because she's sad.
Because that's what she does.
Yep.
She runs off impulsively without thinking of the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And we see the transport that they're going to get on, which is once again a reference to Star Tours that is also referenced in Star Wars Rebels. This being the transport ship that they're on in episode 3 of Star Wars. It's either episode 2 or 3.
Okay.
I think it's technically episode 3, but if you're watching it on Disney Plus, it's episode 2. Because Spark of Rebellion was a 2-parter. But it's all a giant reference to Star Tours.
Oh, I love that. Because I used to love Star Tours as a kid.
I got heat stroke on Star Tours once. That was not a fun experience. That's my memory of Star Tours, is I nearly passed out on it. And I was thinking to myself, if this is the way that I go, this is fine.
Yeah. So anyway, she gets in harm's way. The clones start attacking, and Wrecker saves her.
Yes, and I noted here that Wrecker has the Star Wars poncho.
Oh yeah, he does kind of wear that.
The Qui-Gon Jinn,
right?
Cal Kestis ponchos are a thing in the
poncho
Star Wars
disguise
universe that a lot of people. So Wrecker's wearing one. I have noted that.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
So she delivers the chain codes to them and learns that gasp, she's intended to go with them. And
yeah,
I wanted to note here that her immediate reaction to being told that she needs to go somewhere else, being, did I do something wrong, is the most heartbreaking, realistic, good writing I've seen on one of these shows so far. Because that's what someone at her age and her position would probably think is, I did something wrong. They don't want me anymore.
Mm-hmm. And I like how she ends up like going with them. Because like, I mean, I knew that she wasn't going to like, stay with them, but like
she's on all the promotional material.
Right, of course. But I do like that. Like she does decide like, okay, I'm going to, go with them reluctantly. And then she's just kind of like, no, I'm not going to do that.
How about I don't do that?
How about I don't? Because obviously we knew that she was, come on. That's the one thing I hate when they do this early on in episodes. You see this a lot in a lot of TV shows. They'll do this thing. Well, they're going to, like literally in like the second episode, they're like, oh, here's one of the main characters is going to leave the group. No, they're not.
No, they're not.
They're not going to leave.
They did this in Mandalorian season 1, where episode 3 gives up the baby, and you're like,
yes,
there is no way.
There's no way they're going to
really
give up the baby. Right, exactly.
They could really do it. I did see one show successfully pull this off, and that was Torchwood.
Okay.
Torchwood, which is a Doctor Who spinoff. Spoilers for the first season of Torchwood. They heavily marketed a character in the promotional material, and they heavily marketed this character and this character dies in the first episode.
Oh, damn. Well.
And that genuinely does come as a shock and set up that, no, you really can't trust anything the show does.
I mean, the only thing I'll say is, like, Star Wars merchandising, though, or at least marketing, they do tend to kind of mislead you sometimes, because I think it was like, what was it? I think it was Force Awakens. They had this character in one scene in Maz Kanata's like castle, and this is like this red guy. He's like wearing all red.
The Crimson Corsair.
Yeah.
They just really love the Crimson
They just
Corsair.
loved
like
the design of him or something.
He has his own comic.
I was like and
he's in Rise of Skywalker again. Yeah. Well, he is in the movie.
Well, you know what I mean? He's like barely in it, though. Like,
but he's barely in it.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's Star Wars though. Somebody, when I was going back and forth with somebody about the who's under the sheet, and they were like, oh, it must be just this random background extra. I went, no, there is no such thing in Star Wars as a random background extra. They all have names. They all have backstories. I will find it. I will find this information out. There is no such thing as random Jedi number 347. That doesn't fucking happen in this franchise. This person is going to have their own book and comic eventually.
I know you're saying that now, but I think you're going to be sorely disappointed moving forward when they don't even reference this Jedi ever again.
I think you can sorely fuck off with that kind of negativity.
Moving on from your dead Jedi.
There's a lot of dead Jedi in this particular point in the timeline.
Cut boards the transport vessel. He's stopped by the clone who's like, hey, you look like my brother. Oh, wait, we have to leave. Okay, bye.
I do want to say before that the sliding the thing in and out into the like custom station, that was like a neat nod to Solo.
Oh,
where they're in the Corellia spaceport.
Mm-hmm.
So that was neat. But yes, he does board on does successfully get aboard the transport. Hunter, as he kicking ass and taking names at the depot, does see the transport take off.
Yep.
I liked how Echo can't solve everything. Like, we established that he's very competent, but he then can't get the magnetic clamps off.
Right.
So
Wrecker manhandles it.
And then we see that Omega comes back. Hunter has to save her again. This is going to be a thing.
Yep.
But everyone does eventually escape from the planet.
Yay. We're all a happy family again.
Yep. I do want to nitpick that Wrecker's single arm dumbbell curls.
Okay, I wrote this. Wait, hold on. I wrote this down. We talked about this the other day, and you said there was a scene in, I'm assuming, Clone Wars.
It was in Clone Wars.
Okay, where he is shoulder presses the gonk droid.
The gonk droid, and I really liked that. This one, when he single arm dumbbell curls with the gonk droid, he can't get his arm up far enough.
Yeah.
He's not actually working out the muscle at all. He's barely moving it up and down. It's terrible form because the gonk droid is too large. He's basically doing it to show off at this point, which, again, top energy. But it irks me watching it because I'm like, it's not how you do that.
But the other real issue I have with this scene is, why is there a gonk droid on this ship? Like, what purpose? Like, I don't even know what a gonk droid does. So it's like a power droid, right?
It's a power droid. It's Wrecker's like workout.
They're just like power generators. So like with legs, basically. So I don't understand why he's bench pressing a power generator. It makes no sense.
You've never benched a battery before?
No. Have you?
No, but it's not outside the realm of possibility.
I mean, they're basically giant trash cans. So, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I mean, Wikipedia says
maybe the droid.
I was going to say, Wikipedia says they're 1 meter tall. So, I don't know what a meter is.
Maybe the gonk droid is the team droid. Like, here's the real question. Have you ever bench pressed your dog?
I've never bench pressed.
Because I have bench pressed my cat.
Okay, but your cat's not.
Hates it.
But your cat's not 3.2 feet tall, so it's not a small child.
No, but I'm also not Wrecker.
I know, but he's bench
I'm
pressing
hot,
a small
but I'm
child.
not that big.
Oh my God. Anyway, well, do you have any final thoughts for this episode since we're at the end where Hunter just kind of basically tells Omega, you're a part of our family if you want to be?
Just that it's very nice. Omega's gonna stay, and that's the end of the episode. I like this episode.
Mhm.
I have concerns that it's going to be Clone Wars sequeling for a little bit too much of it.
Yeah.
We only know about the first 3 or so episodes.
That's true.
We know they're going to go to Zygeria. That is the name of the planet. I remembered the Zygerians. I didn't remember the name of the planet is Zygeria. That should tell you how my brain works. We're going to go to Zygeria. We're going to see Rex again. But I'm concerned because I don't want it to be them always going back and visiting planets from the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I hope, because I was getting the sense, like, watching this, that they're going to do every episode is them going to a different planet and being like, oh, this is where we're going to end up. No, something happened here in Clone Wars, so we can't stay here. So now we have to go to a different planet. Like, I just hope that that's not every single time. And there's, like, some kind of plot
on the one hand, the first 3 episodes of Mando season 2 was basically, we're going to go to a new planet and do a new thing. And then the back half of the season was, and now for something completely different.
Right.
So it's possible that I mentioned last time, we're probably just seeing promotional images from the first 3 or 4 episodes of a 16 episode show. But I am concerned, and I want to make sure that they're going to, maybe some different planets, or maybe some planets from Rebels or the original trilogy, or even the sequel trilogy. It is nice to see Braca. That will be fun for me because I know what that is.
Where are the Ewoks? We need to see the Ewoks. Let's go to Endor.
Jesus.
I'm just kidding. Anyway,
Jesus.
No, we still haven't seen Fennec Shan. We still haven't seen Rex. So the next 2 episodes, hopefully are gonna pick up, or something's gonna happen, because we gotta move this plot forward, and we can't be having these like super meaningful conversations with Omega every episode. Like, you're a part of the family. We love you.
I feel like they wanted to get this out of the way, and now that this out of the way, it's like, oh, it's established she's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Right. Which is good because
roll with it.
She's one of the main characters, so it's like, we know you're not going to get rid of her, so it's like, let's relax. Like, now I wouldn't be surprised.
Let's just clear that up real quick.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they randomly were like, hey, let's kind of cut one of the Bad Batch members. You know what I mean? Like, let's kill one of them off. Like, that would be not a super weird shock to me by the end of the season. But as for Omega, though, I'm thinking that's like, she's the central plot to the whole entire show, so I don't see how they're going to get rid of her. So who knows?
She's a big secret.
Yeah, I think there's
top secret.
There's more.
Super classified.
Anyway,
she's a Palpatine.
Is that your final thought for the episode? She's a Palpatine.
That's my final thought. Palpatine's behind it all.
Okay, great. Well, we are finally back to our normal schedule after this week, because there was 2 episodes this week, so it was a little weird, but now we are back to normal. 1 new episode every Monday. No, there's not going to be a bonus episode, so this is good. So every Monday next week we'll have a new episode of the Bad Batch for you. Also, please check out our social medias. We are on Twitter at
Goldsquadrongays.
Okay, I always forget if it's the or at, or you know what I mean. So at
Goldsquadrongays, and Instagram is at Goldsquadrongays.
Gotcha.
And that is the social media we have for now.
For now, who knows what the Empire might bring in the future.
Follow us on those to keep up with everything that we are doing.
Yes.
And we will see you next Monday for either Zygeria or Braca. We'll find out.
Captain Rex or Fennec Shan. Who knows? All right, bye.
Bye.